My wife wants to go out with other men. She wants to feel how they make her feel. I laughed and gave her an ultimatum. She told me she wanted to experience new emotions, to try something different. I could have been in shock, but my response was something she never expected. I don't know, maybe I should have seen it coming. I knew my wife was spending too much time with her friend Audrey. That already bothered me. Audrey was divorced and, in my opinion, led a rather chaotic life. She was always changing boyfriends, and I couldn't even keep up. But to be honest, I didn't really care. I never liked her, but still, I never tried to interfere in her friendship with my wife, Linda. Looking back, maybe that was my mistake. I don't know. All I know is that Audrey played a crucial role in convincing my wife to break my heart. Linda and I had been married for 17 years. Our daughter, Tanya, was 15 years old, and our son, Clay, was 2 years younger. Our life was like any other middle-class family. Linda worked in a medical office and I was a successful salesman. We had a comfortable house, 2 good cars. To me, it was a wonderful family life. At least, that's what I believed. The first sign that Linda didn't share my vision came on a Friday night. When I got home, I saw my wife and Audrey sitting at the kitchen table. Audrey, as always, had that smug smile on her face, but Linda looked worried. You didn't have to be a genius to know something was going on. "Hi, honey," Linda said, getting up to kiss me. "Hi, love," I replied, setting my briefcase down and hugging my wife. After the kiss, I looked at Audrey and greeted her with a simple hello. "I'm going upstairs to change," I announced, picking up my briefcase. "All right, dear. Do you want some coffee?" She seemed to be choosing her words carefully. "Audrey and I have something to talk to you about when you get back." "What's going on?" I asked, feeling it was better to get it over with right away. "Why don't you go up and change first? I'll make your coffee, and we'll talk when you come back." "All right." I looked into her eyes, trying to figure out what was happening. She was definitely anxious about something. A chill ran down my spine when I looked at Audrey and saw her smug smile. Whatever idea they were planning, I already knew I wouldn't like it. My mind was racing as I walked up the stairs, one step at a time. I thought of at least a dozen possibilities of what could be happening, but none of them prepared me for what actually came next. It only took me a few minutes to change from my suit into casual pants and a polo shirt. When I returned to the kitchen, my coffee was already served. Audrey was talking nonstop, almost as if she were coaching my wife on what to say. She was speaking in a low tone, so I couldn't make out the words. They only noticed my presence when I was already on the other side of the table. I sat down, took a sip of coffee, and looked at both of them. "All right, what's going on? What is this conversation about?" Linda hesitated for a moment, fell silent, until Audrey encouraged her. "Come on, tell him. He loves you, he'll understand." Linda lowered her gaze as if she couldn't. "Love, you know I love you very much, so please don't take this the wrong way." She paused and took a deep breath. "I want to go on some dates with Audrey. Not all the time, just once in a while." I was left confused. What kind of dates? Whatever the answer was, mine was already on the tip of my tongue. No. But I needed to be sure what she was saying. "What do you mean by dates? Are you talking about going out with other men?" Before Linda could respond, Audrey interjected. "That doesn't mean she doesn't love you, Robert." I was about to cut her off and tell her I was talking to my wife, but I decided to let her continue. I knew this idea hadn't come from Linda. This had Audrey's fingerprints all over it. But I needed to understand how the hell she had convinced my wife of this. "It's just pleasure," Audrey continued. "It doesn't mean anything. We were talking, and she told me that, besides you, she's only been with one other man in her life." "That's ridiculous, Robert. I'm sure you've been with way more women. She needs to have a little fun." I looked at my wife. "So, is life in bed with me not fun?" She finally lifted her gaze to meet mine. I tried to hide the pain on my face, but I don't think I was very convincing. Love. I didn't mean it that way, but it's different for men. Audrey interrupted her once again. It's just a matter of variety, nothing more. There are men who love their wives so much that they let them go out and have a little fun. Doesn't mean anything, Robert. It's just pleasure. She paused before dropping the worst part. In fact, Linda and I talked about it and decided that it would only be fair if you could also have fun with other women if you wanted to. I looked at Linda again. I don't know if what I saw on her face was fear or regret, but she seemed to be realizing that this was a huge mistake. I see, I said, my voice void of emotion. I could feel the tears forming in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Audrey, can you wait a moment? I want to discuss this further when I get back. She smiled confidently. She was sure she had me trapped. Of course. Where are you going? Linda finally asked. I'll be right back, I replied without saying anything more. I walked into my home office and closed the door. Since childhood, I have always had a serious approach to life. That doesn't mean I don't like to have fun. I can party like anyone else, and I have a great sense of humor. But when it comes to serious matters, I believe in facing them head-on. I fought back tears as I sat in front of my computer and began writing my response to Linda's proposal. Dear Linda, I never imagined I would be so deeply hurt by the woman I loved with all my heart for so many years. But when you informed me of your intention to have intimate relationships outside of our marriage, you broke my heart. I know your friend Audrey is behind this, but the fact that you even entertained this idea has already damaged our relationship and our marriage. To make my position on your planned infidelity absolutely clear, I categorically state that I will consider any intimate relationship of any kind, whether with a man or a woman, as a betrayal and a violation of our marriage vows. To be even clearer, intimate relationships include any type of oral or physical stimulation given or received. If you ignore my feelings on this matter and continue down your path of infidelity, here's what will happen. On Monday morning, I will immediately file for divorce. I will contact our parents and everyone we know to inform them about our imminent divorce and explain exactly why I made this decision. I will sit down with our children and explain the reasons why we are getting divorced. Until the divorce is final, I will leave no stone unturned in finding out the names of anyone you go out with. If they are married, I will inform their wives. I will show no mercy or sympathy for them or their families, so make sure they know before you involve them and put their families at risk. Once the divorce process begins, there will be no turning back. We will always be connected by our children, but I will cut all emotional ties with you and begin to rebuild my life without you in it. My dear, you have a choice to make. Above are the consequences if you go through with your threat of involving yourself with other men. However, if you decide to stay in this marriage, there will be conditions. As I mentioned earlier, just the thought that you considered having an affair has hurt me more than I ever imagined possible. Right now, I don't know if I can forgive you or if our marriage can be repaired, but I'm willing to try as long as you accept my terms. Immediately cut all ties with Audrey and never contact her again for any reason until I decide otherwise. Move your things to the guest room and sleep there. Schedule an appointment with your doctor and get tested for STDs. I will not consider any form of intimacy with you until I am sure you are healthy. If any results come back positive, I will immediately file for divorce. Agree to the installation of a GPS in your car, to which I will have daily access, and respond without hesitation to any questions about your whereabouts. If you accept my demands, I will do my best to forgive you, but rebuilding my trust will take time and patience. What you need to do now, my dear, is choose. I pray you choose wisely. Wounded, but still with all my love, Robert. I have copied the following people: Audrey Simpson, Mr. and Mrs. Dar Hoskins, Mr. and Mrs. Bruce Anderson, Mr. John Coulter, lawyer. As I finished, I could hear Linda and Audrey talking. I knew they had left the kitchen and moved to the living room sofa. I would have liked to know what they were saying, But in the end, it didn't matter. I had already made my decision, and there would be no negotiations. I went to the side table, grabbed envelopes, printed copies of the letter for my parents, Linda's parents, and our family lawyer. I put each letter in an envelope, sealed them, and stamped them. Then I made 2 more copies for the conspirators. The 2 of them turned when they heard the door to my office open. "I'll be right back," I said, heading for the front door. "Where are you going?" Linda asked. "I have something to mail." I left before she could finish the sentence. I walked to the corner and mailed the 3 copies of my statement. A few minutes later, I was back. I walked up to the 2 women sitting on my sofa and handed them a copy of my statement. "What is this?" Linda asked. "You asked me if I had considered what we talked about." "Yes, I considered it. What you have in your hands are my thoughts on the matter. I wanted to put them in writing to make sure there's no misunderstanding." They both started reading the document cautiously. I watched Linda's face closely. Her tears began to fall immediately. "You're a bastard," Audrey shouted. "What kind of idiot does something like this?" "Come on, Linda," she said, taking my wife's hand. "Shut up," Linda screamed, pulling her hand away. "He's my husband, and I love him. No one, including you, will insult him in my presence." The shock on Audrey's face was priceless. "Get out," Linda continued. "I want you to leave my house and my life. I never want to see or hear from you again." Linda stood up and grabbed Audrey's arm. "This is goodbye, Audrey," she said, escorting her former friend to the door. "I'm serious. I listened to you, and now my marriage is at risk. Stay away from me." Those were her last words before she closed the door in Audrey's face. She turned to me, tears running down her face. "I didn't want to hurt you. I accept your demands and any others you have. Linda, I didn't do this for you to just obey. I just need time. I don't want the divorce. I can't even imagine my life without you." I said I would try, Linda. "I can't promise more than that right now, except one thing. If I catch you trying to satisfy your curiosity, even if you're just in the same room with a naked person, it's over." "I know," she replied sadly. "I know it will take time for you to trust me again, but I don't want to be with anyone but you." Now I realize I never really wanted anyone else. That night, I helped her move her things to the guest room. For now, we only told the kids that we had had an argument and would sleep in separate rooms until we calmed down. They suspected something but didn't ask any more questions. You could see it on their faces, but they accepted our explanation cautiously. The next day, I went out and bought a GPS for Linda's car without her knowing. I also bought a recording device for the phones. It was a small gadget, yes. All you had to do was plug it into any phone socket, and as long as a call was made or received on any phone in the house, it recorded both sides of the conversation. When the call ended, the recording stopped. I installed the device in my office and hid it behind the file cabinet, just to be sure. On Sunday, I installed the GPS in Linda's car and downloaded the software onto my laptop. I had hopes, but I wasn't sure about our future together. Linda's job required her to work only 4 days a week. She had Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays off. As expected, I monitored the GPS signal throughout the day while she was at work. On Monday, she went to the supermarket around 10 a.m., but other than that, the car didn't leave the garage. I was still very uneasy and anxious to review the call recordings when I got home that night. The kids were doing their homework at the kitchen table while Linda prepared dinner. "Hi, honey," she said, running over to give me a kiss. I saw the disappointment in her eyes when I turned my face and the kiss landed on my cheek. "Can we talk later, after the kids go to bed?" she asked quietly. My heart started to race. "Yes," I replied, already feeling my anxiety. After dinner, I spent some time with the kids. Then, I announced that I had work to do and headed to my office, closing the door behind me. I put the headphones on the recorder to make sure no one else could hear. For a moment, my heart sank when I heard the first call. It was from Audrey. Hello? My wife answered on the second ring. Hi, girlfriend. Is he at work? Can you talk? Audrey, I think I wasn't clear the other day. I don't want to talk to you. You're not my friend anymore. Accept it. Oh, come on, Linda. Who would have thought Robert would react like this? I didn't mean to ruin your marriage. I don't care, Audrey. Robert's first condition in his letter was that I cut you out of my life, and I'm not taking any risks. If you try to contact me again, I will tell everyone that you tried to sabotage my marriage. I'm serious. I don't want to talk to you again. With that, the line went silent. My heart returned to its normal rhythm. Maybe there was still a chance for us, I thought. The next call was from her parents. Wow, they gave her quite a reprimand. Hello. I heard Linda sigh. I think she thought it might be Audrey again. Linda, I received a very strange letter from Robert. What does this mean? Oh, hi, Mom. Yes, I made a huge mistake. Mistake? Did you really tell Robert you were going to have an affair? Well, not exactly an affair. Do you know my friend Audrey? So, Before she could continue, I heard her father's voice on the phone. Who are you talking to, Linda? Give me that phone. Hello? She answered, her voice trembling. What the hell is wrong with you? Is this how we raised you? To betray your husband? How could you even think of something like this? I'm ashamed of you. We're both ashamed. I heard Linda sobbing as she tried to respond. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. I know I hurt you and Mom, and I certainly hurt Robert. I'm so sorry. I could hear her crying getting louder. Her father also noticed and seemed to calm his anger a little. His voice softened when he spoke again. I don't understand what happened to you, girl. I hope you told him you're going to follow the rules he set. Yes, Dad. I've cut Audrey out of my life. I told her I never want to talk to her again. I can't get tested for STDs at work. It would be too embarrassing. But I'm going to call a clinic out of town and get the tests done there. She paused and took a deep breath before continuing. Also, I'm going to be the best wife a man could wish for, Dad. I know how lucky I am to have a second chance. Believe me, I'm not going to mess it up. They continued talking. They chatted for a while longer, and then her mother took the phone again. When they finished, all three were crying. The most revealing call was from Linda to my mother. Hello, Mom, Linda said. Hello, darling. So good to hear your voice. How's everything going? It seems like you still haven't received Robert's letter. Letter? No. Is everything okay? My mother asked, worried. Linda hesitated before replying. What's going on, Linda? What's wrong? Are the kids okay? Did something happen to Robert? My mother's voice was full of panic. No, Mom, the kids are fine. Robert is fine. It's just that I did something really stupid, and it hurt our marriage. Robert threatened to ask for a divorce. Divorce? What did you do? My mother asked. I told him I wanted to go out with other men. Linda confessed. What? Why would you say something like that? I don't know, Mom. It was stupid. I let a friend fill my head with nonsense. She's single and always goes out with different men. She has a lot of stories about her relationships with them, saying that each one is different, some are better than others, but each has its own thing. She made it seem like I was missing out on all the fun. She kept telling me I should go out and enjoy life. She told me I could meet as many men as I wanted, that we could go out together. She kept talking and talking, and like an idiot, after a while, I started listening to her. Linda, you're married. She's single. That makes a big difference, my mother responded. I know, Linda said, but she introduced me to one of her friends, a married woman named Bet. She told me that Bet's husband let her go out with other men all the time. She said he loved her so much that he wanted her to have fun. After all, it was just for pleasure. They both tried to convince me that Robert would do the same because he loves me. Deep down, I knew he would never accept that, but I ended up letting them influence me. I never stopped to think about how much damage it would cause. The pain in my mother's voice was clear. "Oh, Linda, how could you?" She sobbed. "I'm sorry, Mom. Forgive me," Linda replied. "What happened? Did he leave you and the kids?" "No, he didn't leave. He gave me an ultimatum. Cut off the friendship with that woman and abandon any thought of being with another man, or we'll get a divorce. We're also going to do couples therapy." He sent a letter explaining the situation to my parents, to you, and to our lawyer. My parents already received it, but I thought it would take one more day to reach you. You could hear my mother crying. "Linda, I don't know what to say. I never thought you could be so cruel. I hope, for your own sake, that Robert loves you as much as I think he does. If I had done something like that with Bruce, I would have been thrown out of the house on the spot." "I know, Mom." Now it was Linda who was crying. "I promise I'll never hurt him again. I almost lost him, but I'll show him how sorry I am every day for the rest of my life. Please, forgive me." Hearing both of them cry made my eyes fill with tears. Around 10 p.m. that night, we made sure the kids were in bed and sat down on the couch to talk. I still didn't know exactly what the conversation would be about, but I noticed that Linda's eyes were already filling with tears when she started. "Today I talked to our parents. Mom and Dad received your letter. God, how it destroyed Dad," she said, trying to let out a forced laugh. Then she corrected herself. "Actually, they all destroyed me. Your parents haven't received the letter yet, but they'll probably get it tomorrow. So I called to try to soften the impact. Too bad I didn't think to do that with my parents. Everyone is so hurt and disappointed with me, and why wouldn't they be? I'm disappointed with myself. I just wanted to say once again how sorry I am." She wiped away her tears before continuing. "Oh, and don't get mad, but I need to tell you that Audrey called. I think she thought I was joking when I told her we weren't friends anymore, but I repeated that if she called me one more time, I'd tell everyone that she tried to sabotage my marriage. She doesn't have many friends, and I don't think she wants to risk losing the few she has left, so I doubt I'll hear from her again." Even though I already knew all of this, I was glad Linda was being honest with me about the calls. I took her hand, smiled, and thanked her for her honesty. The following week, Linda got tested for STDs. To be honest, I never really believed she had cheated. In fact, if she had, I think Audrey wouldn't have been able to resist throwing it in my face. I'm sure she would have spilled the information. I know HIV can remain hidden in the body for years before showing up, but all the other tests came back negative. So, after 3 months, I finally allowed Linda back into our bed. At first, our intimacy was a bit strange, but Linda was tireless and worked hard to regain what we had. Even after everything went back to normal, she did everything I wanted with enthusiasm. I believe our love life today is better than ever. Couples therapy also helped a lot. Audrey and her friend really brainwashed my wife. Our therapist made Linda relive each conversation repeatedly. Even the husband of that Bet woman came into the picture. According to Linda, he did everything to convince her that he allowed his wife to go out with other men because he loved her so much. He told Linda that any man who truly loved his wife must be able to set aside jealousy to make her happy. Honestly, I think he expected to sleep with her at some point. Someday, I will find that bastard and personally express my gratitude for his help in trying to seduce my wife. Between the three of them, they really put a lot of pressure on her. It's been over a year since that disastrous day. Although I've never had the slightest reason to suspect anything since then, I still occasionally track Linda's movements with GPS. I also check her calls from time to time. Once the seed of distrust is planted, it's hard to remove. Next month, we'll celebrate her parents' wedding anniversary. Looking at everything we've been through and where we are now, I'm pretty sure that in 31 years and 3 months, we'll be celebrating ours. This story shows us how a wrong influence can put something as valuable as a marriage at risk. Linda almost destroyed her family by listening to people who had nothing to lose, while she had everything. Fortunately, she realized her mistake before it was too late, but not everyone gets that second chance. The most curious thing is the role of the husband in this situation. He could have simply given up, but he decided to fight for his marriage with clear conditions. However, the trust was never the same again. This raises an important question. Can a relationship truly go back to being the way it was after such a major breach of trust? What do you think? Do you believe the husband did the right thing by giving her another chance? Or should he have moved on? Leave your opinion in the comments. If this story captured you from start to finish, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Every day I bring incredible stories like this. Oh, and here on the screen you have 2 must-see stories waiting for you. Pick one and come with me. I'll say goodbye for now, and see you at the next story filled with unexpected twists.